So today I'm going to be giving you my full review on Sauvage Elixir, the newest and latest and maybe greatest of the Sauvage lineup. Really, I was not expecting another flanker after Parfum, because when you typically look at Dior and how they operate, they're kind of operating hand in hand with Chanel a little bit. You know, you see Bleu de Chanel, EDT, EDP, Parfum, all blue-based fragrances with a whole bunch of mass appeal. And then Dior had to get in on their take and release Sauvage EDT, EDP, Parfum. I just kind of thought that that was going to be the end of the Sauvage saga. After all, Sauvage came out quite a while after the first Bleu de Chanel, and so they really pumped those out a lot quicker. You know, Chanel, they really kind of take their time when they're releasing new things, and they've been pretty quiet lately. That was quite a digression off of the topic at hand here, but long story short, I wasn't expecting a new flanker. And as much as I and a lot of you are probably tired of hearing about Sauvage, I still went out and bought it as soon as I was able to. And by the way, this is not affordable. It is not cheap. This is $155. And this is a 60 ml 2-ounce bottle, so not even a full 100 ml. So yeah, it's a little bit on the pricey side for sure. But nonetheless, today we are going to be taking a look at Sauvage Elixir. I'm going to tell you how it smells, how it performs, when you can wear it, and ultimately how it compares to the original Sauvage. And of course, all the flankers as well. And of course, before we start this review, have you tried Sauvage Elixir yet? If you have, let me know what you think down below. If you haven't, well, are you excited to? Were you shocked to see this like I was? And is it one that you're going to be thinking about picking up? After all, when you read the official description of this fragrance, one of the things that Dior is proud of is that the bottom of the bottle has a deep ingression on it. And so I put that to the test, and yeah, it's pretty good size. Let's go ahead and jump right into this one, starting off with the smell. Now, when you first spray this one on skin or in the air, immediately you can tell that it is a Sauvage flanker. That may sound obvious, but you never really know, you know. Parfum kind of drifted away from the Sauvage DNA a little bit, and so when you see yet another flanker called Elixir, and apparently a much more rare and limited version, who knows how close it's going to be. And it's really interesting, and this is where I have to hand it to them, that even though it is quite a bit different compared to the Eau de Toilette, and just what the Eau de Toilette does best, it still has some Sauvage DNA in here. And so the fact that they're able to take that original DNA that came out in, 2015, 2016, and make it this much different, while at the same time somehow still having a similar backbone, is pretty impressive. I said this in my first impressions, but if you were to smell the Eau de Toilette and then smell the Elixir without smelling anything else in between, you'd probably be a little bit thrown off, and you may think that they're completely different. But really, when it comes down to it, you almost have to go through the stages here. You know, again, I was around when Sauvage came out, and so I smelled that one first. And then the Eau de Parfum came out. We were all super pumped for that, smelled that one. And then the Parfum came out, similar deal. So, you know, myself and a lot of other people just went through the different stages. You know, each one that came out, we smelled as it came out, and we were just kind of following along with the progression there. And now that we have Elixir, it's a similar deal. However, not everyone has been around since the Eau de Toilette, back when that was the only version of Sauvage, and not everyone has been able to go through the different stages as they come out. So again, if you're brand new to Sauvage, you may smell this and you may be thrown off. But if you've been around for the ride and you've smelled the different flankers and really spent some time testing them, you would see the comparisons. So this one opens up with a good amount of spiciness. Cinnamon, nutmeg, to name a couple. It's warm and spicy right up top. Even cardamom as well, one that I missed out on there. So it's cardamom, nutmeg, cinnamon, a whole crap ton of spices. For me, not so much cardamom, more so nutmeg and cinnamon. It's just not too oriental for me. Maybe a little bit of a cardamom spice, but I don't find that to be kind of the main player. A couple notes that are also very prominent right off the bat is sandalwood and lavender. So I find for me on my skin, I get a good amount of a creamy woodiness from this one, and that's going to be coming from the sandalwood. And I find Sauvage Parfum to be the same way. Sauvage Parfum really took a big step back from the original Sauvage DNA, at least in comparison to the Eau de Parfum. The EDP made it a little bit more smooth, a little bit more warm, and the Parfum took that to the next level. And this one here takes it to an even more extreme level of just getting away from the juvenile, hated-on Sauvage Eau de Toilette DNA. While we're here, I'm going to go ahead and read off the full note breakdown for you. Up top, we have cinnamon, nutmeg, cardamom, grapefruit. In the mid, lavender. In the base, licorice, sandalwood, amber, patchouli, and vetiver. So a pretty healthy note breakdown here, and I like what I see. I love patchouli. I love vetiver. I'm a big fan of sandalwood as well. Of course, lavender is timeless. That's hard to beat. And I love the spices up top. One thing you'll notice is no ambroxan. And that was, I believe, the same with Sauvage Parfum as well. They decided to exclude that note, at least from the public note breakdown. Would I say that there is still some ambroxan in here? Sure. And there definitely is amber, and that's kind of a similar thing here, depending on how it's used. So it still has a warm, fuzzy spiciness in the base. For me, as it works into the dry down, a little bit of that patchouli starts to come through and a little bit of vetiver as well. And those are adding support to the sandalwood, the lavender, and some of the spicier notes. So in my first impressions video, I was talking about how I didn't really think we need this per se. Because for me, it's just hard to, I guess, still hold on to this line. Because for me, I'm a big fan of Sauvage. Believe it or not, it may seem like, oh, you know, I hate Sauvage because I kind of bust on it a little bit, or I don't feature it anymore, or I kind of make fun of new flankers when they come out. I really like Sauvage. The Eau de Toilette is great, and actually, at the end of the day, if I had to pick one, the Eau de Toilette would probably be the one that I would pick from the entire lineup. And that probably sounds completely contradictory to everything that you may think, but it's true. I truly like how Sauvage smells. It's a really pleasant scent. What I don't like is when it gets to the point where brands will run with the idea a little bit too hard. And again, it's pretty normal for most designer brands to make flankers of their fragrances. Come on, we all know this. And again, look at Chanel. They have 3 versions of their top seller, Bleu de Chanel. But for me, when it comes down to it, how many of these do we really need? Are they going to keep coming out? And for me, if I want Sauvage, I reach for Sauvage, and I'm talking the Eau de Toilette. Sure, sometimes the EDP is nice, it's a bit more smooth. Sure, sometimes Sauvage Parfum is nice because it's a bit more mature. But the thing is, I have a whole bunch of other mature fragrances. At the end of the day, I go back to Sauvage, the Eau de Toilette, when I want something that kind of gives off the vibe that I'm looking for, that you would expect from Sauvage, which is kind of a younger, more playful, summertime compliment getter, beast mode performer, that type of thing. If I want Sauvage, I reach for it and I wear it. If I want to wear something mature, I'm not going to be thinking of Sauvage Parfum. That's just how it is. And so when I saw this one come out and I smelled it for the first time, I'm like, okay, yeah, this is pleasant for sure, but how necessary is it? I would say if you are a big fan of the Sauvage lineup, you're a collector, you enjoy them, and you find that Sauvage is your signature scent, so one that you wear on most situations, and you want a more mature, refined, smooth, evening out counterpart, Sauvage Elixir could potentially be an option for you. Now, one thing we have to mention here as well that I touched about in the beginning of the video, the price, it's expensive. $155 plus tax and plus shipping from websites like Dior, so it's going to be pushing you probably $170 or more for 2 ounces for 60 mils. That's a whole crap ton of money. I mean, you're almost working your way up into the Dior La Collection line, so like Fève Délicieuse and that sort of thing. I know there is still some distance between the two prices, but again, by the time you're out the door, shipped to your house with tax and everything, you're up there pretty high, especially for a designer. I mean, come on, I think we can all agree with that. So this one comes in as a parfum concentration, so very highly concentrated here. And that was one thing I was curious about when doing my first impressions. And now that I've had time to test it, I can report on the performance. On my skin, it's a really strong scent. On my skin, it's usually coming in at around 9-10 hours. Once you get to that point, you kind of start getting a little bit into a gray area because I'm sure it lasts longer, but if it's on my skin, on my neck, it gets to the point where my nose is going to be burnt out, olfactory fatigue. This DNA causes that heavily on me, and the original is the same way, original Sauvage, causes olfactory fatigue. At that point, it just gets hard to keep track of. If I have it sprayed on my hand, it's not going to last anywhere near that long because I wash my hands throughout the day. So it can get a little bit hairy to test performance beyond that point, not to mention taking a shower and that sort of thing. So if it can make it to 9-10 hours, that's pretty much topped out for me. That's good enough for me, more than good enough. And I would say that if it's making it to that point, it's probably hanging out a little bit longer as well. Now, with that being said, it's not filling up a room for 10 plus hours straight. Given the concentration of this one, it's gonna naturally hang a little bit closer to you. One thing I do like about concentrations like this, a parfum, is that it will not push out in terms of distance as much, but what it will do is hang in the air for a longer period of time, and it'll leave a more substantial scent trail. So whereas the eau de toilette may fill up a room when you walk in and then dissipate relatively quickly when you leave, these parfum concentrated scents won't give as much distance, but as you walk through the room, the scent will kind of linger into the air and it'll hang for quite a while. I mean, this stuff will be hard to make it go away. And personally, I prefer that type of performance. I don't want to announce to the whole room that the obnoxious cologne guy has arrived. I like a bit more of a heavier, denser scent that will just be a bit more rich and hang in the air for the people that are a bit closer to me to smell for a while. So all around performance is really good on this one. When it comes down to seasons, when you want to wear this one, this will be nice for cooler weather, so fall, winter, and spring. Summertime, for me, it's just going to be too hot. If I want to wear Sauvage in the summer, it's going to be the eau de toilette, nothing else. Even the eau de parfum kind of brings it to that level where it's a bit too heavy. Same with the parfum. When you get into heavier scents like this with the creamy sandalwood, a whole bunch of spices up top, just kind of a heavier, warmer scent in general, it's not a summer scent for me. Could it work all year round if you wanted it to? 100%. It could be a signature scent. If you want to throw down the money for it and continue to keep buying it to make it your signature, it would work, but I wouldn't be wearing it outdoors in the summertime for that type of situation. If you work an office job, if you go to school indoors, and if you're doing summer school, I guess, this will work great. If you're staying around 70 degrees, no problem at all. For me, in summertime, I'm going to switch into my summer rotation because I have plenty of fragrances to do so, and this isn't going to make the cut. So I think that's pretty much going to sum it up for me. That's my thoughts on Sauvage Elixir. I really don't have anything else to say other than if you like Sauvage, try it, see what you think. If you don't like Sauvage, don't try it or try it anyways. I mean, once it gets to this point, this line is so divisive that really, all I have to say at this point is just smell it for yourself, because I can't really convince you one way or another depending on which side of the field you're on. You just had to try it for yourself and find out. That's going to do it for me. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.